Hey everybody, welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it is going. Holy moly. We are in gale force winds today.
Ooh, and tomorrow, unfortunately.
That too?
It could take out power. They said we could lose power lines. I was like,
oh.
Dang it. Anyway, other than that, tonight.
Other than that, I'm just fine.
I know, we're both sort of stunned, like, oh shit.
Well, I've been over at the ball fields, and I didn't realize till I got on camera how dirty my face was from all the wind, or the dirt blowing into it.
Right.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll survive.
I think we will. And it is Wednesday night. This is the Wednesday night case update show, of course. We want to say welcome to Barbara, RJ, Jessica, Fran, Coco, and Sherry, and everybody else as you're just jumping into the chat. We're live streaming on YouTube and Facebook right now. Hey, Renee. And of course, this show will go up as a replay on YouTube and on on all our podcasty kind of places. So
yeah,
we always come on here every Wednesday night to give you some updates, what's happening in the true crime world, because a lot of stuff is always happening in the true crime world, and we have I think we have a really interesting mix of updates tonight. It's not the cases. It's not a lot of the cases that we normally update. It's some older stuff that's got some traction, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So we're going to be, we are going to talk about all of them. Sorry. Where did I go? I do not know. Welcome, Colleen. Welcome, JR. Nice to have you all here. But I thought we'd start with some interesting news. We recently covered RaDonda Vaught. And you may remember RaDonda Vaught is the nurse in Tennessee who accidentally killed a patient, gave her the wrong medication, ended up giving her a powerful paralytic that paralyzed her, and she died.
Yeah.
RaDonda immediately reported herself, as we know. It was just a straight up accident. She grabbed two meds that were sitting next to each other that start with a V, and she grabbed the wrong one. And this has been a big thing because usually these things are handled civilly and they're handled by licensing boards and hospitals. And this one went criminal.
Yeah.
So she was actually charged in the death of her patient, and she was convicted.
Yeah.
In that death. But she was just sentenced. And what she was given sentencing wise is that she's been given probation.
Yeah.
And it is diversion probation that after 3 years or 5 years, she can get her record expunged. Now, she's not going to be a nurse anymore. She's lost her license. I mean, she's had the professional consequences that would happen to anybody that made a mistake like that.
Yeah.
But, this has brought up a huge, it's a big discussion about, our medical accidents where there's no intent, because there was no intent in this case. This was just a straight up accident.
Yeah.
Is it the right thing to charge a nurse criminally? Right. So there's been a big outcry from nurses
or any other medical professional
that
made a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. So, basically the jury said, yes, we're convicting her. The judge said, I'm giving her probation.
Yeah.
So interesting, something, a lot of people in the medical community are concerned that this is going to be some kind of precedent, that we'll see more medical professionals charged criminally for accidental um, stuff. And when
Yeah.
there's intent, I 100% yes.
Sure.
We just covered a respiratory therapist that is charged, but those were intentional deaths.
Yeah.
So it's a big conversation, but for now, what we know is that RaDonda Vaught was given probation.
Well, I still don't like the conviction, but I'm glad she didn't get actual jail time or prison time. That would have been an unbelievable tragedy. So,
yeah, I do too. And I mean, definitely she shouldn't be a nurse anymore. Definitely there are consequences there, but
of
jail
course,
time,
of
I don't
course.
know.
Yeah. Well, especially
Criminal,
in that case, because there was a lot of administration failure,
yeah, there
a
was.
lot of failure on the policies of the hospital that set her up for failure.
Yeah,
And of course, there should be consequences. And of course, medical professionals that, create accidents that kill people should be held accountable. But prison time,
yeah,
we're not going to have any. We're not going to have any medical professionals yet left.
right.
And
Well, and
that's the worry that
it
nobody's going to want to be a nurse if this
is
is
the
the fear that
worry.
they're constantly under. Yeah.
Right. Well, and their hospital used a locked medication cabinet instead of getting all of their medication from the pharmacy. And
Yeah.
that's a big question and a big concern
Mhm.
for me. Like
Yeah.
there are so many safeguards in place when that medication comes from the
Mhm.
pharmacy and not from the nurse who is running
Mhm.
around taking care of too many patients, doing
Mhm.
too many things at once. And when it can be delivered and already have been checked for accuracy,
Yeah.
so that then the nurse just checks again. I don't know. I don't like this idea of those locked medicine cabinets that nurses have to get their own meds from. I think that's a big
Mhm.
mistake.
I do too. It's
So
it's too much on them because, of course, as we know, administrators they want their facilities to make money. Ergo, they do push nurses way too far. A friend or
right.
one of my daughters works with a nurse who was a nurse in a hospital for 30 years, and she used to straight cath herself so that she wouldn't have to run back and go to the bathroom all day, so that because she didn't have time.
Yikes.
Can you imagine having a job where you had people's life and death held in the palm of your hand for 12 hours a day to the degree that you couldn't even go to the bathroom?
No,
And you would wear a
cannot imagine.
catheter at work so that you didn't have to worry about it because you simply didn't have time?
That's insane.
And she said a lot of the nurses, she had told Matea that a lot of the nurses she worked with did the same thing
Oh my god.
because they just did not have time for bathroom breaks.
That is not right.
No.
No humans are being treated well when a
Yeah.
situation like that is happening.
Yeah.
So hopefully the RaDonda Vaught situation will change some hospital policy to protect in this situation. But I really
Yeah.
hope that we don't see more criminal charges in, straight up negligent accidents
Hmm.
where, especially for her, I mean, she reported herself immediately.
Right.
So I think in a situation like that, she followed all the protocols she was
Yeah.
supposed to follow when she figured out she'd made the mistake.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
anyway, kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Katie, why don't you give us an update on Chelsea Poorman?
Chelsea Poorman. We brought this story to you guys last year
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah.
So I'm going to show you a picture of her in case you do or don't remember. Oh, well, that sucks. Well,
Kind of
there's
a
a
weird.
very pixelated picture of Chelsea Poorman. Sorry. Chelsea Poorman went missing in Canada from Vancouver, and this was an MMIW case.
Right.
And Chelsea was 24. She had been in a terrible accident and had a leg brace and couldn't straighten her or couldn't bend her arm. Her arm was like stable, because or static because of bars in her arm, and she had a brain injury because
Right.
of the accident she had been in.
Hmm.
And she had gone to a party on September 6th, 2020 with her sister. Well, she
Right.
had dinner with her sister. Yeah, and then they went to a party.
Hmm.
And at some point during the night, she texted her sister and said she was leaving the party to meet up with a man. And that's the last anyone heard from her.
Yeah.
Last anyone has heard from her until April 22nd of this year. So she was missing for about 2.5 years.
Mm.
And where was Chelsea all this time? She was in the backyard of an abandoned mansion in the neighborhood where she went missing.
What I read said she was only there about a year.
No, well, the
Am I off
article
on
I read
that?
said that she had that she had been there. They figured that she died there shortly after she disappeared.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, and that she was seen through the backyard from a construction worker, and she is missing her cranium and multiple fingers.
Oh.
And the police said they do not suspect foul play.
You know, here we go with this bullshit.
Mm-hmm. They said her death was not considered suspicious. That's what they told the news. Then behind closed doors, they told her mother, "We are still kind of investigating. Just, we are." So, of course, her family's pissed. They've had enough.
Right.
They're the ones that announced that she was missing her cranium and some fingers because the police didn't. And maybe that was evidence that they were holding on to, maybe. But her family feels like they aren't doing a damn thing. And I can't argue with them considering.
Right. Wow.
Her phone was found in Victory Square in downtown Vancouver. So it was separated from her, but there doesn't seem to be any evidence as to why or who she had met up with. The
Right.
neighborhood where she found is among the richest neighborhoods in all of Canada.
Wow.
This is the Shaughnessy area,
Mm.
and the homes there are worth tens of millions of dollars.
Wow.
Her mom says she can't understand how her daughter, who did wear a leg brace and had arms up or rods up her arm and leg, could have even gotten on that property. The property itself is gated with big, thick, heavy gates.
I'm sure she just climbed it and then just laid down and died. You know, this is we're gonna have this conversation again tonight about a different case. And it's so aggravating.
Yep. So it took 10 days after she went missing for the police to send out or make a public notice about her disappearance.
Mm.
And her mom, all the while, wanted them to treat it as a vulnerable adult because she had a brain injury. And they just wouldn't. And she's just never felt like anybody really did a thing. She said it's always felt like no one cared about Chelsea.
Yeah.
And now they've found her body and they still don't care about Chelsea.
They still don't care. They're treating this as though this is just a natural death. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
And Chelsea's Cree. And so, of course, this was an MMIW case for us, and it remains because what the hell? So we at least know that Chelsea Poorman's body has been found now, and her family can finally get some closure there. Only they really can't, because what the hell happened to Chelsea?
Right. Until we know what actually happened to her and whoever harmed her is behind bars, we're still not in a good situation.
Well, I would really want to know who had access to that mansion.
Right.
Because somebody, I think most likely, unlocked a gate to get them in there.
Right.
Because Chelsea wasn't claiming any wrought iron fences. She wasn't able to do anything like that. So what happened?
Well, like Renee said, after cutting her fingers off.
Yeah. And removing her cranium? Sure.
Yeah. Now, that could be some predation of some kind. Although I would imagine that if they cared to do a good autopsy, they could tell.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm happy, at least for her family, that they found her body.
Me too.
That they have some information. Still not enough.
At least they have that. Hey, Tiffany. Yeah, but Kevin says, any chances this is a cover-up? Well, any chance? I think anything could go at this point. Yeah.
With these MMIW cases, that is always a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye. Hopefully some more things will come out.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that they actually do a real autopsy.
Yeah. Get some real answers. Yep. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Christy, you have gone very pixelated,
Oh,
but we can hear you just fine. So,
okay.
I say we just we
Let's
march
do,
forward.
because good news, getting a new internet provider, fiber optic internet provider, tomorrow morning. I'm so excited because then maybe we can stop having these stupid problems.
I know it stabilized there for a little bit, and now we're back.
I don't know, typical.
Yep.
Was she buried, or she was above ground?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she wasn't even buried.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Nope. She was just laying out there.
Yeah, because she just climbed in there over that fence and laid down and died.
Mm-hmm.
You guys. Speaking of a case like that is very frustrating, let's talk a little bit about Shannon Gilbert. So Shannon Gilbert is, well, depending on who you talk to, potentially one of the victims of the Long Island serial killer. Now, we've talked about Lisk quite a lot. I did an episode on Lisk at one point. Shannon Gilbert was on Gilgo Beach, and she was working as an escort, and her driver dropped her off. And so then something goes very wrong for her, and she calls 911, and there is a 20-minute 911 call, and there are two other shorter 911 calls in which she just keeps saying, someone is after me, someone is out to get me. And she can't tell them where she is. She doesn't know. At one point, she has an argument with her driver and will not get in the car with him. And she just keeps saying, can you come and help me? Can you figure out where I am? And yeah, she sounds drugged, like she doesn't know where she is. Well, she knew where she was when she was driven there, like, but she couldn't quite form that much, cognition, I guess, to remember where she was at. And the 911 call is really tough to listen to. But this is the first time it's been released. So her body was found, and this is another case where the authorities have tried to say that she just wandered off and died. That she wasn't even killed at all. That she's not one of the victims of Lisk, and that she wasn't even murdered. Which, of course, her family is so pissed about. She called 911 saying someone is after her, like, and then her body is found in a marsh, and they say that she just sort of wandered off there herself. So they're getting the Gilbert family has hired a private pathologist who does say that she shows some evidence of strangulation. So we still continue, the Lisk murders just continue to be, I don't know, ridiculous. And I don't know, just really continuing to struggle. But, we all know that none of those girls that were found along that beach just lay down in rushes and died. I mean, give me a break. So yeah. But the 911 calls are out there. I'll put this link in the show description so that you can go and listen and see what you think. Okay. Good. Yeah. So, Katie, do you want to talk to us about Brittany Drexel?
Yes. The Brittany Drexel case is one that has really perplexed police for quite a long time. Brittany Drexel went missing in 2009. So Brittany was a teenager in New York who had decided that she wanted to go to South Carolina with her friends on a trip. And her parents said no because they had no idea. They didn't even know these kids. And they just felt like it was not a good thing. And in fact, her mother told her, I feel like if you go, something bad will happen to you. And I just don't want you to go. So instead, she made plans to go spend time with relatives instead. and took off, and her parents thought she was going to spend time with relatives. Turns out, no, she was headed to Myrtle Beach. And she disappeared from Myrtle Beach. And for the longest time, they had no idea where she was or what happened to her. She just vanished.
Mm-hmm.
So there had been some CCTV that showed her walking out of a hotel, a beachfront hotel there, and that was about it. So here's what happened. There was a man named Raymond Moody who had been a person of interest, actually, clear back for 10 years from 2012 on.
Right.
And they have not been able to arrest him. They just haven't had enough evidence. So they're saying that they have new information, in a detailed new information, but they're not sharing all of that yet. But they said that the investigation really ramped up in recent weeks. And what they were able to do was to arrest Moody for obstruction. And after they arrested him for obstruction, he told them exactly where her body was.
Yeah.
And they found her body, or her remains, buried in the woods in South Carolina. And now, of course, he's being charged. He's eligible now for the death sentence. So he's facing a single count of murder, kidnapping, and criminal sexual misconduct. Apparently, he's wagered a confession now. Apparently, he held her captive and was assaulting her, and she tried to escape. And in the course of her trying to escape, he killed her.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of hard things because there was another man that was implicated. So there was a prison informant who said that a father and son had taken her and killed her when she tried to escape, and then threw her into an alligator pit.
Right.
So part of the story was true.
Yeah.
But not all of it.
Mm-mm.
So that's what we know. We also know that Moody is a registered sex offender. He spent 21 years in prison for a 1983 abduction and rape of a 9-year-old little girl in California.
Good God.
Yeah, he's a real winner. So at least now her parents know what happened to her. And they can finally, put her to rest and get some closure there. But yeah, well, yeah, her friends kind of ditched her. She was on her own at that point. Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
Colleen. And shouldn't have been there in the first place, and then was kind of on her own in a place that she was just obviously, unfortunately, not safe in. It's a terribly sad case. Her poor family has been through so much.
They have.
So now we will watch this one march through the courts.
Yeah, we will. But very interesting after all this time to get a confession, find a body. Like, it's one of those cases you think is solved.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Katie, do you want to share? You had some insight on something that went on with Casey White's mother.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I've got a couple of things about Casey White. So you guys know who we're talking about. This big winner right here. This is, of course, the inmate who escaped with Vicki White, his lover, a couple of weeks ago, and they were on the lam for a little while, and then they got caught, and he got brought back in, and Vicki shot herself in the head. And by the way, there's been some conjecture about, Vicki's death. The autopsy did determine that was a self-inflicted gunshot wound due to the GSR on her hand. So
Yeah.
they do believe it was her, that she did kill herself. Casey White's mother is in such a state of la land that Jesus Christ.
Right?
So she said a few things. Her name is Connie Moore. She said that she talked to Casey on the phone the day after he was taken in, and that he was crying. He's so devastated by the death of his love, and they were just two people who really loved each other. She said Vicki was really, really good to him, just being there for him, talking with him. They had a real thing. No, no, they didn't.
Right.
She also said that people think her son's a monster. He's actually a really good person. He's just misunderstood.
Oh my God. I would imagine that the family
Yeah.
of the murder victim in his life
Mhm.
probably have something different to say about him.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's not what really good people do. Casey has tried to murder and then did murder someone else.
Yeah.
He's not a really good person. He's
No.
actually a really bad person.
Yeah.
So he did have court, and he's got quite the injury on the back of his head from a wound that he suffered when they wrecked the car.
Mm.
It's really weird. It almost looks like an eye on the back of his head. It's gross. But anyway,
Yuck.
yeah, it's really hard. His mother said this. Now, truly, if you have a family member that's committed a crime, don't read the comments. You know,
Truth.
she said, when she was asked if she had a message for Vicky's grieving family, and she said, I would just say I'm very sorry about it. And from all I've heard from Casey and from everyone, she's a very good person. I hate with all of my heart that it happened. But Casey is not the monster they've posted him to be. I think it's so sad that the comments that this whole world has made have to have made fun of both of them in a situation like this. I read 1,000 comments and nobody had a good word to say about either of them. I don't know who she was, but I know they loved each other and he talked about her frequently.
Yeah.
Lady,
What?
what? Good Lord.
Yeah. That is so delusional.
Then she said, and here we go. Here it is. Vicki was one of the few good women in her son's life. All of his troubles have stemmed from two things: drugs and women.
Mm.
hmm All of the women
Nice.
he's been with have emotional problems, and Casey has a big heart and just wants to help people.
Oh my God.
Help them to die?
Yeah.
Because he's
Help them
doing a
by
damn good
murdering
job
them.
of that.
Yikes.
hmm Growing up, he was just a basic country kid. He was always tall, but nobody tried to pick a fight with Casey because of it. He was never violent, but there were drugs there, and he would do them, and it went from bad to worse. Good Lord. She also said he's not a habitual drug user, but he's taken them periodically over the years.
This
Yeah.
woman has lost the plot completely.
And then this part really got me. Vicky was a good person for him. I don't know what happened. I know that Casey wasn't the mastermind of anything. She was the brains, we know that for sure. I don't know if maybe she had given up on life. Lady, what? She had just started writing him letters and it went from there. Oh, for the love. All I
Mm.
know is it's sad and it was real.
Yeah. Okay.
No, bitch, it was not real.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
And your son has confessed to murder after
hmm
already being sentenced to 75 years for
Yeah.
burglaries and assault. I mean, come on.
hmm
Yeah, Kev says there should be a banjo playing in the background during the news commentary, right?
hmm Yes.
Yeah,
Agreed. It's so stupid.
it is.
Also, there was a funeral for Vicky.
Yes.
A pretty good sized funeral.
Well, I would imagine there are a lot of people in her life that are feeling really confused.
hmm Yep, a lot of people came out for it. Despite, this recent bullshit, she was beloved by her coworkers. She had friends. She had people in her life that cared about her and thought the world of her. And they are just still beyond shocked and devastated at the way this went down.
Well, and she made some big mistakes, but she didn't kill anybody.
No.
So that's
Yep.
that's a huge difference between her and Casey.
Yeah. Yeah. She was things. A murderer she was not.
Right.
Now, he does say, wasn't there like 300 people there? Yeah, something like that. It was a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
crowd. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she's the reason he's like that. Well, yeah, so two good points. JR said she's the reason he's like that. Paula said it makes me wonder what his father was like. If that's what she
Mm-hmm.
considers to be a good person, she probably put up with a lot from him. And I think that's a damn good
Right.
point.
That's a really good point.
But for sure, JR, I'm sure she was that mother that was always like, well, it's just that woman. If he'd get away from that woman, he would be fine.
Right. Rather than, what the hell are you doing? This is your choices,
And
that coddling
yeah,
of men. Ugh.
and that's true. It's really sad that she knew. Yeah, good point. It's sad she knew about their relationship long before all of this. Yeah,
Yeah,
she knew.
she sure did and didn't do
Yeah.
anything about it.
Mm-mm.
Hey, Spirit. Welcome all of you that have joined the chat since we first started. It's nice to have you all here.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what's up in the Casey/Vicki White saga from hell.
Yeah. Small update in the Daybell Vallow debacle.
Mm-hmm.
Her attorneys are calling her mental health extremely complex and fragile.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that she may end up back in the hospital. They are having her evaluated by a neuropsychologist next month. And, so we might not be done here as far as Lori in the hospital.
Yep.
And her attorneys made a point of saying that they do not believe that she's malingering, nor do the staff at the state level where she's been committed. None of them think she's malingering. They all see this as quite real.
Mm-hmm.
And that, they have to make sure that she's sane enough to be tried, or that we have to wait again.
I think everyone should be very prepared to see Lori back in the hospital.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
The fact that they've come out and said this really makes you think,
Mm-hmm.
would she still be in therapy while in jail? No, she would not.
No, the jail doesn't
Jail
offer
doesn't
anything like
provide any
that.
mental health services at all.
No.
When she moves on to prison, that could be different, but not in jail.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They're bringing on a neuropsychologist to work with her, which I think is smart. They need to be clear about what's going on with her.
Yep.
She has indicated that she does not want to try to separate her trial from her husband. And she has also said that even though, right now there's a conflict between trial dates because she did not waive her right to a speedy trial, that she recognizes that if they have to wait until January, that just gives her attorneys more time to prepare her defense. So basically, they're kind of conceding that, if we have to wait till January, then we'll wait till January.
Mm-hmm.
But, at this point, we don't know. It's possible she could end up back in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. It's comforting, though, to see an update from her attorneys that's coherent.
Yes.
Not belligerent in any way.
Appropriate. Yeah.
Appropriate. Doesn't accuse the prosecutor of really anything at all. Just a brief.
Yep, just a brief. This is what's happening.
Yep.
This is what we're doing about it.
Yeah.
And so we shall see. But I think it's pretty significant for them to put out that in the public.
I think so too.
That it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Oh, Thomas Lane. So Thomas Lane was one of the police officers involved in the murder of George Floyd. He was one of the officers that assisted. And he has pled guilty to manslaughter.
Yeah. Yeah, an actual guilty plea.
Yeah. It's a tough thing because he's taking more responsibility than Derek Chauvin did, and Derek Chauvin. But he was brand new. This was his first day on that job. And and he made a choice between standing up to his fellow officers or going along. And he went along.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's appropriate for him to plead guilty. They should have all
Yeah.
pled guilty.
Yeah.
He knows what they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good for the rest of them either for him to plead guilty.
It really doesn't. It
And you
really
are now
doesn't.
just bat clear as a bell.
Am I?
Yeah.
Stupid internet.
Yeah.
This is why I'm getting fiber optic, you guys.
Yep.
And it's going to be awesome. It better.
Goodbye, Renee. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, some updates in the Delphi murders.
Yes.
Mostly we have to thank the Murder Sheet podcast, who has obtained some court documents.
Mm-hmm.
They obtained some court documents, and then they went to the police and said, here's all the information we know.
Mm-hmm.
What's really important that we not release, which I think was really responsible. I appreciate these podcasters because they're not trying to destroy the potential trial.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Murder Sheet people are former law professionals, right? Or
right.
They are law professionals.
Right, they are. And I think that they did a cool thing here because they got this information. They have held back some things that the police asked them to hold back, but we do know a few things now. So there was a search warrant issued for the property of Ron Logan. And Ron Logan actually owns the property where the girls' bodies were found. And they were found not very far from Ron Logan's house, which I find really interesting. This is the first we've heard of this at all.
Right, because the indication always was that they were found kind of down under where they had disappeared, and it had always made it sound like it was just part of that public land they were hiking on.
Yeah, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
It is Ron Logan's property.
Wow.
They know from the information that they have gathered that the bodies were moved and staged. That where they were found is not where they were killed. And that the bodies were staged and that it was a very bloody scene.
Yeah.
Right. If it was Ron Logan the whole time, I agree. Everyone will be very pissed. They do have forensic evidence, hair, bodily fluids, guns, and cutting instruments are things that they were looking for. But they do, in fact, have a fair amount of forensic evidence, more than we knew.
When we read this case, one of the things we said is that the bodies were carved up.
Yes.
We also said that was something that the police had not released. I won't claim that I was completely correct on this case. I wasn't. But that was one thing that we
did say.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also said that a souvenir was taken.
Yeah.
They didn't say what the souvenir was, but what they did say is the rest of the girl's clothing was present. So the souvenir was clothing. So those are some things we did not know until now. It does appear that quite a bit more has happened that the police have done than we knew, They were found 1,400 feet from Ron Logan's house. According to the search warrant, a large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene. Because of the amount of blood, investigators believe the perpetrator would have gotten blood on their hands and clothing. They also said the murderer likely took a souvenir from the crime scene. It appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. We don't know how they were staged, but they were staged. And there were no signs of a struggle or fight either, which is interesting. So that is, it's old information in that the police already had this information, but now we know. Now, Ron Logan has lied about his alibi. He has made statements that were found to be factually false and designed to deceive law enforcement. Now, why he has not been arrested, we don't know. but there are
I'll
he
tell you what,
asked,
if Ron Logan unalives himself before this is over and he gets arrested,
right?
that's my biggest worry at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was 72-ish at the time. If Ron Logan did this, Colleen, he didn't do it alone.
Right.
Yeah.
This is always going to come down to it's got to be two people.
Oh, he died in 2020? Oh, for God's sake. I did
Oh, we
not know
did?
that.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm
Oh.
sorry. Yeah, underwear is trophy. Yeah, see, I think so. I think underwear is trophy. But what's the connection between him and the social media guy and his dad? And is there a connection there? There's a lot more to find out here, but there's quite a bit here. I mean, they do know that Ron Logan asked a family member to lie in order to give him an alibi. And that happened before the bodies were discovered. So that is he died in January.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking at it.
Yep, he just died in not 2020. He died in January of 2022. So he did just die. But yeah, even before the girls' bodies were found, he had set up an alibi, you guys. Was it this freaking guy the whole damn time? Right. Why can't they figure it out then?
Right.
Agreed. Why can't they?
Yeah.
So we don't know everything, obviously, but we do know this is pretty significant. And there are more things that they know that they have not released.
Yeah. Tons more. Yeah.
So we shall see. But it's good news that something is moving forward on Delphi, because it just feels like, we get going on something and then it just all falls apart again. And how many times now? But this is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
Yep.
Well, we'll keep watching it play out, but wow. And I'm very bummed to hear that has died. I did not know that.
That's at the very bottom of this article, and I had missed it. Yeah. And the younger second sketch. Right. There had to be somebody else. Right. They think it's a sex ring thing. Yes.
We actually said that in our initial reading, that we thought it was a younger person that was being coached by an older person.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Oh, please let them get some answers for those families. My God.
I hope so. It just seems to be taking forever, and that's so frustrating. Yeah. Well, that's everything I have. Katie, do you have anything else?
No, I don't. I think that's where we're at. Ugh.
Interesting stuff. It's interesting when old cases start coming back up.
Yeah.
We are seeing some of that right now. There is a hearing for Lori Vallow Daybell tomorrow. I don't know what it is, and I don't even know if we're going to get to know what it is. But if anything interesting comes of it, we will let you know.
Yeah.
Because it is addressing some of these issues, I think particularly like trial date. So we'll see. Is the judge going to just extend her trial to January as well? We don't know, but that's coming. So as soon as we see what goes on with that, we will let you know.
Yeah. Yeah, this rabbit hole does go deep, JR. I agree.
It does. Yeah. And the scary thing about it with the Delphi case is that, the people in that community really wanted to believe that it was someone that came from outside their community. And it's not looking that way.
Yeah.
It's not looking that way. This looks like this is maybe going to blow that community apart.
Yeah.
When the truth comes out. So we will keep up on that and let you know. And we will let you know what happens with that hearing for Lori tomorrow. And we will be back tomorrow night, Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain for the Psychic Hour. That is a live stream on our YouTube and Facebook pages. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I don't know what we're doing, but it's going to be great.
We're going to do goddesses, for God's sake. We've been asked a while ago, a couple of times, and we haven't done it. So we're going to do the goddess hour.
Okay. I love that. That's going to be great. So We've got 3 awesome episodes out this week. Lots of really interesting stuff happening right now.
Mhm.
So check those out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. That helps us to grow. We've got some new content coming out on Patreon this week. If you haven't checked us out on Patreon yet, go to patreon.com, search for True Crime Paranormal. You'll find us. We have a couple of years of extra content over there. And if you
Mhm.
join and become a patron, it just helps to support us. And you also get a whole bunch of cases that you didn't even know we've covered. So
Yeah,
you want to check that out.
you bet. Oh, JB says, can we do some energies too? I've been feeling pretty rattled lately. Yeah, and in fact, maybe we'll do a group clearing, like a singing bowl clearing or a drumming or something like that.
Great idea. I think
Everyone's
we could
feeling
use it.
very rattled. The combination of that full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio on Sunday, Mercury going retrograde, as well as the Schumann resonance has been all over this week. It's been spiking like
Well,
crazy.
and 3 really awful mass shootings.
3 mass shootings and election night for a lot of communities
Yes, we
yesterday
just had ours yesterday. So
just has people very out of sorts. Yeah.
does, really does.
So yeah, we'll definitely do that. Good suggestion.
Good idea.
Okay.
All right. Well, you know it. We are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here.
Take care.